Hey everybody, it's Josh Beard on a Budget. We're back on the '02 Avalanche, restoring some items on it and everything. And today we're going to work on probably one of the easier things, but gets overlooked a whole lot, and that's the shocks, specifically the front shocks. All right, and as you can tell, they do get pretty old and rusty crusty. This one just so happens to have a small little bit of, I think it's a 3-inch lift on it. I can't remember. I put it on it so long ago. I don't know. It's torsion bars and all that good stuff. But anyway, the best way to do this that I've found, start off in the engine bay. Right down in here, you'll see that bolt to take it out. And just start from the top and work your way down. That's going to be a 15 millimeter. All right. So let me try to set you up here to where you can get a decent view, at least, of this, and we'll zip it right out and go on. I'm just gonna have to hold you. There's nowhere really to set you, but you're gonna use a pretty good size extension on this. Let's get the light over here so we can see what's going on. Maybe, but you can see it right down in here. You're going to snake around your brake lines and everything. Make sure you're on the back out button, and there you go. You just don't want to come out, does it? It's just got so much rust on it that it's wanting to fight. But that's okay. We're going to get us some wrenches and see what we can do to get that out. Alright, now that we got the top bolts out, we're going to move down here to the bottom and take this shock off with these brackets. You see right here, it's going to take a 22 millimeter socket right there. You could probably get away with a 21, but just depends on which bolt you got and all that good stuff. We're gonna zip that out and go ahead and get that whole rest of that shock out of there, so we can replace it and replace that lift bolt or lift bracket and everything. Nut off of it, and you can see the bolt just kind of snakes around here. The bolt just kind of comes right out the back there. Of course, it's going to have a little bit of tension on it. Let me just got to kind of wiggle that shock up and get the bolt out. Then, once you got that out of there, you may need a pry bar. Just depends on how bad your shocks are, really. Whether or not you'll have to pry them up out of there or anything. These are pretty wore out, but we're going to pry it up out of there and we'll go from there and we'll get it out. Pry down on the top and kind of compress the shock and get it out of there. And there you have it. It's a really worn out shock with the extension bracket on it. Let me get the other side out of there, and then we'll take a closer look at that bracket. Alright, now that we got the shock off, we're going to go ahead and loosen this nut and bolt here at the bottom and take a look at our little lifting block. Of course, the shock's pretty well trashed. We'll throw it over in the scrap pile. But all it is really is just a small metal box that goes up and your shock clamps onto, and then that clamps where your regular shock mount's supposed to go. Very simple because on these trucks, that's just the way the shock mounts. As you can see, this is the new shock, and it's just going to slide right up in there. And it has the torsion bars that, you know, comes with new torsion keys and all that is what it had. Very simple and easy. And we're just going to fit this all back up the way it was, put it back on the truck, and that'll be the new shocks. Okay, now let's get to building that other shock. This one didn't come off quite so easy. I ended up having to use a little bit of the old heat and beat method to get it out of there, but it finally saw the error of its ways and decided to work with me. But sometimes that's how you got to do it. Let's get these nice new shocks. Nothing super fancy, just, I mean, they're stock shocks. They're just, you know, regular stock size shocks and all that. You don't necessarily need the extra lift on them if you have these little lift shackles, or so I've been told. I'm not an expert. I'm just a guy trying to do what he can with what he's got. Now, let's see. Sometimes these bolt holes won't quite line up, and you may have to do a little bit of finagling. You can kind of see a little bit how that's just barely off center. So if it won't go in there, you can always ream the hole out just a hair if you need to, but for the most part they'll usually go in. They just look like they're going to be a little off, or you can even shave it down just a hair. You know, don't go do nothing crazy or anything. And that one I don't think it's gonna want to work with us today. We may have to ream it out just a little. Take you a little step bit. And just ream it out just a little bit. You know, nothing crazy. Step it down to the next size and see how that does. There's plenty of material there, you know, to where you can play with it just a little bit. Looks like we might have to go to the grinder and shave off just a little here and see how it does. We'll try that, see how that does. I didn't take a whole lot off of it, you know, just a little bit, and you can see just that little bit made a humongous difference. Now we'll zip this together and go to put it back on the truck. All right, now that we got it all back together and everything, we're going to stick it back on the truck. And the process for putting it on the truck, of course, is the exact opposite of taking it off of the truck. You're going to slide it down in here. Of course, it's going to be a little harder to compress because, you know, it's a new shock. But what you can do is use the old ratchet strap method. Now, if you don't want to use the ratchet strap method, you just kind of want to hurry up along, you can always just take the shock, set it down on something, and just press down real good and tight. There, everything you got. Press the shock. And then all you got to do is just kind of beat the clock. And shove it in place. And that's all there is to it. Just kind of just goes back in the way it came out, you know. Take your bolt. You're going to put it in there, but sometimes you'll have to take and take your little screwdriver and kind of pry up a little bit on the shock, just to get it right to where that bolt will slide through like that, real good and easy. And then you're going to put your nut back on this side, cinch this down, then go back up top and tighten her down. So go ahead and knock that out. Get it real good and tight, and always tighten down to the torque specs. But, you know, this one has a bushing down here, so, you know, do with that what you will. Some people tell you not to tighten them super tight with a bushing. I just smoke it for what it's got. You know, I don't try to break it or anything, just whatever I can do with the impact. But let's go up top and see what we can get cleared out here. All right, now back up here up top, it's going to be a little tricky to tighten these up, or this one up. I'm sorry, there's only one up here, but of course they want to make it as hard as they can on you, the good old engineers, because, you know, they want you to, my opinion, they want you to take it and get it worked on. They don't want the average Joe being able to do this stuff. But you're going to take your bushing and your washer and slide it down on there, and you got your nut that you're going to put on it, and you can take an impact and tighten it down, but it won't go as tight as you need it to, because the top of the bolt you have to grab with a wrench to tighten it up the rest of the way, to, you know, to get your final tightness on it. So let me grab the extension here. You got a good long extension that goes down over this. We're going to tighten it down as much as we can with our impact, save us a little bit of work with our wrist here. And that one actually tightened up really good, but I'd say that looks pretty good to me. So I guess some of these newer ones you don't necessarily have to tighten down, but that's the shock install. That's all there is to it. They're not that bad usually. If you let them go for a long time like I did, of course you're gonna have a lot more issue with them. But the other side is the exact same, folks. I mean, there's not a whole lot to them. They're easy to do, save you a whole lot of money being able to do it yourself, and that's the name of the game. You know, just save money where you can, when you can. If you don't feel comfortable with it, by all means, take it to a mechanic. There's no shame in that. But hopefully this helps you out. If you like what you see, please hit that like, share, subscribe. But always, most importantly, be kind and tell somebody you love them. Thanks for coming out.